Well, the broader narrative of the Star Wars galaxy often comes down to the conflict between the Jedi and the Sith, or more generally the dark and light side of the Force. These were not the only views of the nature of the Force present in the galaxy, or the only groups to use it. Today we're going to take our first look on the channel at another group of Force users and their philosophy. This will bring us deep into the southern outer rim, to the Cathall Rift within the Cathall sector. We'll be examining the Aing-Tii monks. Out of universe, the Aing-Tii monks made their first appearance in the 1996 West End Games tabletop role-playing game sourcebook called The Cathall Outback. They were first brought into the novels by Timothy Zahn in the Hand of Thrawn duology, where George Cardass, a former smuggler with a vast information network, talked about being sent to seek the Aing-Tii monks by Yoda, believing they could help Cardass with his deteriorating health while Yoda prepared to teach Luke. Very little is known by the galaxy at large of the reclusive Aing-Tii species, with most knowledge coming from a single crashed ship on a remote planet, and holoclips from an espionage droid which had managed to slip aboard one of their ships. Aside from their unique view of the Force and the techniques that went along with it, which is our primary focus today, Aing-Tii technology was unlike that of the rest of the galaxy in many cases. As Cardass explained in Vision of the Future, the Aing-Tii had a considerable advantage in galactic travel on the occasions when they did leave the Cathall Rift by being able to instantaneously jump to a given destination, rather than traveling through hyperspace. This was partially because of a Force connection they shared with their ships, and they used a specific Force power to be able to do this. The Cathall Outback sourcebook also attributes part of their ability to maintain secrecy to their ships being outfitted with the strange beam weapon which could be turned on a target ship and, quote, so bedazzle its crew that they lose complete track of time. When they return to their senses some hours later, the Aing-Tii craft is gone. Whether this is strictly technological is unclear. Considering how many of the Aing-Tii Force techniques revolve around time as well, it's possible that there's some involvement of the Force here, however that's only my own conjecture. The Aing-Tii were not opposed to resorting to violence and military force when necessary to protect their secrecy. They're often referred to as warrior monks, however they had a strong revulsion for slavery, which they rightfully saw as a great evil. The destruction of slaver pirates was one of the primary motivators for when they did deign to leave their homes and interact with the denizens of the galaxy. The philosophy of the Aing-Tii surrounding the Force, as we've mentioned, was fairly unique. Many Aing-Tii were Force-sensitive, including all the warrior monks who ventured out of the Rift, and they saw this as a gift from what they called those who dwell beyond the Veil, which is kind of a deity group for them. Because they saw it as sacred, they tried to avoid trivial uses of the Force. However, they did develop quite powerful Force techniques. Much like they did with moving their ships, the Aing-Tii were able to instantaneously move even large objects from one location to another. Most of the unique or well-known Aing-Tii techniques had to do with interacting with time though, particularly the power of flow walking. Flow walking, arguably the most iconic power that the Aing-Tii had, allowed the user to interact with what the Aing-Tii called the currents of the Force. It required one to remain anchored in the present in some way, but they could then travel backwards or even potentially forwards through time to view or in some ways even interact with the events described by Jason Solo as analogous to a ripple from a rock in a river. There could be some impact leaving echoes, but the river is itself overall unchanged. This power would commonly be used by Jason Solo as the Sith Lord Darth Caedus, as he studied with the Aing-Tii monks during his period well away from the Jedi, which significantly altered his view and impacted the Jedi Order as a whole's view of the Force upon his return. Unlike the Jedi and Sith, though, the Aing-Tii did not believe in the dark and light side of the Force. As George Cardass explains, the Aing-Tii view it more as a multifaceted rainbow with many aspects. The Force played a strong role in guiding the events of the universe, but did not entirely predetermine it. They also believed that even those who were not traditionally Force-sensitive could learn to interact with the Force in some way. Cardass, after his own studies with the Aing-Tii, was able to learn the ability to instantly displace an object, displaying it to fellow smuggler Talon Karrde with a small drink decanter. After the fall of Jason to the dark side and taking up the role of Darth Caedus, Grandmaster Luke Skywalker and his son Ben undertook a journey to find what had made him fall to the dark side, and Luke did strongly suspect the view of the Force the Aing-Tii imparted to Jason, along with the power of flow walking, had played a strong role in Jason's fall, I hope you've enjoyed this look at the Aing-Tii and their view of the Force. I'd like to revisit the species at some point in the future to talk a bit more about their history if people are interested. I'd also like to do a video on other Force practitioners if there's interest for that as well. If you've enjoyed the video and want to see more, please consider leaving a like or subscribing. If you have any feedback or would like to make a suggestion for a future video, then please leave it in the comments. I also have a podcast with another Star Wars YouTuber, Eckhart, where every other week we read and discuss Star Wars books, so check out the links in the description if you want to take a look at that. It's available on YouTube, as well as on Podbean and Spotify if you want an audio version. The next episode will be streamed live on Eckhart's channel at 7 PM EST, where we're going to be talking about X-Wing Wedge's Gamble. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you next time.